Today's guest is Gina Hurtado, a ceremonialist, naturopath, medicine woman, and maestra in metaphysics. Gina walks in deep relationship with spirit, the natural world, and all living beings. She has devoted her life to guiding others through ritual, healing, and the wisdom traditions that remind us of our connection to something greater. Beloved as an animal helper and trusted as a soulful teacher, Gina brings both science and spirit into her practice, weaving metaphysical insight with grounded naturopathic care. She embodies the role of bridge between ancient and modern, body, soul, human, and nature. Above all, Gina is deeply loved for the way she holds space with reverence, compassion, and a reminder of the sacredness in everyday life. Please enjoy my special time with Gina. Hey, y'all, let's go there. Okay, Gina, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Carla. Thank you for having me and your team and your beautiful audience. It's an honor. I feel very excited.
Yeah. We were um we were commenting when we got on the call that we are both a little nervous for some reason.
Yeah.
And I am typically not nervous when I do these, but maybe it's excitement. Maybe I feel a sense of excitement in getting to talk to you. There's something very special about you, Gina. From the
Mm,
moment I met you, I was like, "Wow." And,
mm.
I knew I wanted to have you on, in particular for this season.
Gracias, Carla. Thank you so much. I agree. I think this excitement is really good excitement. I hope wonderful things will come out of this, and people that get to hear the podcast and this episode also can relate maybe to the information that we're gonna transmit and channel. I fully trust my guidance and my guides how they come down sometimes with messages. So I think it's all related on the excitement, and it's very special. I just feel very blessed. Thank you.
Thank you. I do too. No, if you do receive messages or things do show up for you today in the podcast, I want you to feel very comfortable to do what's natural. It's very profound to witness that gift in you. And I want to tell our audience how we met. We actually met Lindsay Shookus and her partner Kristen Merrick invited me on a mirror retreat, which Katie
Mhm.
put together. And Katie has been on the podcast as well. She did a meditation on her podcast. And I didn't quite know what to expect at this retreat. I went into it with a very kind of open mind, open heart, but did not anticipate how profound the experience would be and how healing the experience would be. And you were the most memorable part of that, Gina.
That's amazing. I guess it was surprising for me as well
Hmm.
because it was such a nice group of ladies, and it was a big group of women, very powerful women. So I think we were able to collaborate energetically, and it was just amazing. It was a really nice surprise for me as well. And we had a really nice ceremony. It was long, and a lot of messages were revealed. So it was
Yeah.
really fun.
It was very, very powerful. And I was struck by the specificity of your messages. I mean, they were so clear and so specific and so spot on. And even the women that I didn't know, I would watch their face as you would channel for them. And I was like, oh my gosh, she is nailing it. And even with me, what you channeled for me, I was like, there's no way you could have, there's no possible way you could have known it.
Mhm.
There's no
Yeah.
possible way. It made me realize that you have a true gift.
Mhm.
How old were you, Gina, when you realized that you had these gifts?
It's such an interesting story because it's very recent. It's been like 3 years since I started like openly talk about the gift of channeling.
Hmm.
But the very first time I remember I was seated with this information, it was when I was 9 years old, and it was actually a very, I would say at that time, traumatic experience.
Hmm.
I was in my at my mom's house in Mexico City. And I remember just having like a big headache, and all of a sudden having like all these images go through my head, but like fast forward, like a lot of images. And I felt like I was going to go crazy. And I was only 9 years old, so I didn't know what was going on. And I had a big headache. I will close my eyes and see all these images, and I just throw myself on the ground. And I don't know how long it happened. It felt very long time, and then that was it. Then my mind was I was normal again. And then I had a couple more experiences throughout my years growing up. When I was 15 years old, my dad passed away the day of my birthday at the same time of my birth. And I was turning 15 years old, and I was able to be with him while he was passing and in that transition. But at night I started like seeing images of him while he was already in the casket and in the chapel. So, like there were many moments during my life where I had these approaches, or I could talk specifically with animals. I knew I had the gift with animals, specifically dogs and cats.
Mhm.
But this is something I just have, so I never really pay attention on how or why. And then at 17, I had another experience with an overdose, a very violent thing that happened, unfortunately, to me and a friend. And it was my second exposure to death from this DMT experience. And again, I was able to kind of open up a big field in the Akashic realm. So, it's been from 9 to 15 to 17 until I started my medicine ways, where I realized, wait a minute, this is not going away. This is just part of who I am. I would like to know more. So it just started happening the moment I embraced what was happening, and the moment I realized this is just part of who I am. It's been with me since I'm very little. Then I started studying Akashic records with my teacher, and that's when really the field opened for me. And sometimes it's very intense. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't come in with expectations. This is something, if in this case, I channel with the Nawales and angels. I work with specific energies, and it's really up to them what they want to reveal and say. I don't come in into a space forcing or asking. I just put myself as a vessel, so the information comes through. And sometimes it could be very intense, and sometimes can be even scary, I would say. So it's a relationship where I need to have also boundaries and continue to learn and continue to cultivate. It can happen even when I'm sleeping, or I'm taking a shower, or cutting the grass. So that's when I'm learning how to like set some boundaries. But it happens pretty much every day, every time.
Wow. So, first of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry about your father and losing him at such a precious age and on
Mm.
such an auspicious day for you in terms of your birthday. And I'm so sorry about that.
Well, thank you. And also, I've learned the biggest gift of life, because he's my biggest example of what a symbolic dead means in the material realm.
Yeah.
And he's my biggest guide and my biggest guardian angel. And we have such a strong relationship after he transformed into this infinite consciousness. So, thanks to that, and thanks for I'm just very thankful that my dad was the one that gave me this gift of understanding the same dance that is dead and life. It's
Mm.
beautiful. So it took many years, of course, of understanding more the what was symbolic around, oh, it's the day of my birthday, but it's the day. So throughout ceremonies and rituals and many beautiful spiritual experiences, specifically on that date, it's wonderful. And I want to add, when we were talking about dates for your podcast,
Mhm.
I chose the 17 because this is my lucky number. This is how I connect to my father. So today is a 17, and it's part of the whole auspicious uh, getting together for today's session. So,
I love that. And what's your father's name?
Francisco Javier.
Hola, Francisco Javier. Exactly.
Hola.
Right.
Aquí está. Aquí estamos. Sí, aquí estamos.
Well, that's beautiful. I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think the comfort that I receive in that and the beauty that I see in that is you don't see a separation between
No.
you and your father. If anything, it sounds like you're more connected to him now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yes.
really, really beautiful and encouraging, in particular for people that are dealing with grief,
Mm,
to know that we can connect in that way. The relationship doesn't have to end in the physical realm. Um,
exactly.
it's really inspiring. Okay, so how did you go about finding you realize you come to this recognition that you have this gift. You're not going to be able to fight it, which is interesting because I have met other people that have your same gifts and they've also described it as sometimes it's intrusive or it's not always welcome or it can be tiring at times. How did you find your teacher in particular?
I have many teachers throughout my life, and I think it's been very organic for me. I've been very blessed to find many teachers along the way. For example, when I was part of the Native American church, I had the fortune to pray along amazing leaders of the native nations of the Northern America, and it's been very organic. But to me, really, the meaning of a teacher it feels very very big because I pay attention on the aspects of the daily life, so I can call someone my teacher,
Mm,
and so I have wonderful relationships in the spiritual practices and in the altars and what I currently practice with the medicine. But my teachers have been just part of like a very organic way of my way of life. You know, they reveal as just the human that is a normal human dealing with regular stuff on the daily basis. And it's very important to me how they take care of their lives and their body and their mind and their relatives and their family and their loved ones. And that projects into the work they do in the altar and the way they take care of the elements and the prayer. So I feel that's when I can really relate to a teacher, like someone that I find the value because they live this every day, you know?
mhm.
So, yeah, I found teachers during my time with the Native American church. And then I found my teachers with the ayahuasca medicine. Then I went to the jungle and I go to Brazil and Peru. And I have these practices where slowly, slowly, it's almost like the medicine calling me and making the proper. I'll give you an example. Even the beginning of the year, for example, I received a phone call from a friend of a friend of a friend that heard about my work and they made an invitation to go to the jungle of Peru with one of the masters. And he specializes in invisible surgeries. And just like that, you know, and when I received this phone call, of course I feel very honored, but there's something else that I need to understand. Why is this coming to me? And then I could see the medicine, in this case, the medicine of tobacco and wachuma, calling in the energy to go to the jungle and be part of these beautiful healing ways. So it's been very organic. And I have many teachers, and I keep meeting all these teachers, you know, and like meeting you and all the women that we met at the retreat. So it's like this giving and receiving energy for me that makes the teaching experience what it is.
Yeah. It's that makes me feel good, Gina, because I consider myself a giver and I never want to be a taker, but I feel like I received so much from you in that moment that I wanted to
Mm.
give back. So the fact that you see it as an exchange, it for me is really it makes me feel good. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about your experience in Peru. So
Okay.
when you were called, tell us what an invisible surgery is. And if you feel comfortable, I don't want to take away from the experience, but if you feel comfortable, I'd love to hear what happened in Peru.
Okay. So just so we are clear, this is a phone call I received at the beginning of the year. So I'm still in transition. I'm going to go to the jungle.
Oh, got it. Okay, so it hasn't
Yes.
happened yet.
But I can still share about what invisible energy surgery means, and I I can also share about my experiences in the jungle, for example, of Brazil when I go to my teachers in Brazil. I am excited to go to the jungle in Peru with this specific teacher. But invisible surgeries, when we are sharing the medicine, and I'm gonna call the medicine certain specific spirits of ancestral medicine. In this case, it can be peyote, ayahuasca, wachuma, tobacco. They have something specific that is like a spirit that only lives in this medicine. And throughout the years and the practice, we learn how to pray and how to be with these medicines.
Mhm,
So let's say me as a facilitator, it's the many years that I go to the altar and the fire and the elements where I learn how to hold myself with these medicines because they can be very strong and they can increase and help to alter the conscious level. But there's one realm that some people call it the five-dimensional realm, the 5D, where the shamanic experiences opens.
mhm,
And until we are in that realm, we are able to see, hear, and experience the reality where everything can be manipulated in a very subtle way. So these teachers in the shamanic realm have the ability to see what's going on with your bodies. We have 6 bodies. So it could be something happening in the etherical and the emotional, mental, and the physical body. For example, I'll give you an example. My teachers in Brazil, they have something called Icaros, which is the prayer that becomes a song. And this is the way through these prayers that we'll be able to clear and clean every single channel we have in the body. So it's very specific and it's very special, but they have the ability to open up this realm, and through this realm and through these prayers that are very ancestral, very old, and they are connected to nature, they're able to start clearing these blockages.
mm.
So we call it an invisible surgery because you are here in your physical body, but there's something else that comes with your physical body. So we are able together. But something I want to be very specific is during ceremony, and you have to agree to this. It's not something that just a teacher is going to come and do to you. Again, it's a giving and receiving. It's an exchange. It's something that you have the approval. So it's like when you go to the regular doctor and you're asking and you are seeking for answers. It kind of works the same way. You put yourself out there in this sacred space to find the healing. And the teachers will give you the options of this healing. And they will let you know in which way they can support your healing. And
Mm.
it could be just with water or what we call dieta, which is a fasting, long time fasting. It could be just breathing. It could be very simple things. So yeah, I don't know if I'm clear with what an invisible surgery means, but it's just the ability in the shamanic realms to go deep and work in the bodies.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Now, one of the things I wanna ask you about, and I don't know, you tell me which direction you wanna go in, but
Okay.
I'm hearing that you both participate in ceremony, but it sounds like you also lead ceremony.
Yeah.
Would you refer to yourself as a shaman, as a medicine woman? How do you refer to this work?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't refer myself as a shaman.
Mhm.
Sometimes the human mind needs a title so you can relate.
Yeah.
So in this case, when someone needs to relate to something, then I could name myself medicine woman or
Mhm,
ceremonialist
mhm,
because I am in charge of creating a space. And then I share from an altar that has a tradition and the cosmovision of different native cultures. So I can refer as a moon dancer, medicine woman, But this is just something so the mind can understand and we can feel safe and we can be vulnerable coming into a space. But shaman, I'm gonna share from just my own experience. But shaman, it's again until we open up the shamanic realm, then we can experience how the shamans work.
Mhm.
So even the teachers that are shamans, once they close this 5D realm, they come back to the human form. So it's very important to learn that shamanism and shamans are only when they are in these realms and not in this physical 3D.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I also think something that comes up for me is it also helps us understand that when they are in their human form, that they're human beings and fallible like human beings. And so we also need to recognize that too. Okay. So you one of the things that I also find very fascinating about you is you incorporate many different modalities, many different cultures. Tell me a little bit about your background, your heritage. How has that played a role versus what have you incorporated?
Ooh, okay. So in this altar, the four cosmovision altar, I call it this way because I started participating again as a part of the Native American church for a while, and I was utilizing the beautiful medicine of peyote and learning the ways of their altars, the ways they relate to the sacred elements. And I've learned this way of life that was very profound and very beautiful. And then I went to the south, and that's where I learned also the ways of tobacco, jape, and cambo and ayahuasca and other medicines from the south. And then I went to the central part of the Americas, and that's where I received my fire with the cacao medicine based on the Tzotzil calendar. And I am also part of a beautiful circle here in Mexico, Chalchutepec, and I am a moon dancer that has as a base the Aztec tradition, the Mexica people. My ethnicity, my background, it's European indigenous, and I was very very happy to learn that I actually have more percentage into my indigenous background. And this it's such an interesting question because I spent so many years being so conflicted with that heritage because I love my ancestry, but in the indigenous ways and representing an altar, I also had to face the fact that maybe my color, the skin, my color skin is too fair or too white to be able to conduct this kind of prayers. And the reality is like my ancestors, they're like half Europeans, Irish and Spanish. And then the other percentage of my ancestors are indigenous and Mexica people. So slowly, slowly, I've been able to integrate both and be very proud of my heritage. And but I definitely I'm more dominant to the indigenous part of my heritage. And I think I come here into this lifetime to honor and actually bring the medicine of the indigenous ancestors in a way that I'm doing these days. I'm starting to understand why it's me from my family members, the one that is bringing these teachings more and more and sharing with more people.
Yeah. Okay, so that was gonna be my next question. You started to go there. Does anybody else in your family have these gifts?
Absolutely. Um, my sister, she's also a medicine woman. That's not what she does for a living, but she's a bruja. See, I would say like from my family, my sister and my mother. I'll tell you a story that I know she's very comfortable and open because she also shares with people. But my mother died when she had my brother. Well, she was giving birth to my brother, Javier. and she died for a couple minutes. I think it was about 3 minutes. And she was able to see herself out of the body, and she was walking into a channel of light. She had a whole DMT dead experience, and then they bring her back to life. And 9 years later, I was born. So until this day, we also think that there was something there in the wires, in the biology of my mother, like coming back to life into a second life in this body. That maybe that's why I am so sensitive and I carry these gifts. My mom sometimes can hold your hand or can just say hello to somebody, and she is able to get flashbacks of an event of the person she's saying hello. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes she has lucid dreams, and it's something that I'm like, "Mom, you should definitely like explore more." She's not very interested to do that exploration, but she's very, very sensitive, and she did have that strong experience. And then I have an aunt on my dad's side of the family that she's a medium since
Mm.
a very, very young age. She was able to see the people that is no longer in the body, and she went to the Vatican to work in different areas. She's more religious. She practiced more Catholicism, but I do have it in a way or another from other family members that I know of. Mhm.
Yeah. So you and I have not talked about this, but I also have died.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was after I gave birth to my son. I want to say it was like 6 weeks after I gave birth. And I was having a very simple day surgery. And I was supposed to be at home by noon. And when they went to make the incision, because I have a really low resting heart rate and really low blood pressure, and you mix anesthesia with that, I flatlined to zero.
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
I don't know how long, they didn't tell me how long, but I too was out of my body and looking down on everything and could see everything. And I could hear the anesthesiologist yelling at the surgeon to step away from my body, to step away. He had the paddles ready, but she was stunned. She was shocked. And so she was still in contact with me. And so he had to physically push her so that he could put the paddles on me. He did it a few times, and then he brought me back. And then I remember him saying to her, "Okay, you have to continue." And she said, "I can't." And he said, "We are not going to put her under again. You have to finish the surgery." And,
Wow.
so I came to in the cardiac ward with my mom as pale as a ghost and my husband as pale as a ghost. And the anesthesiologist came in and he said, "You're not going to be sore from this surgery. You're gonna be sore from me hitting your chest." And he said, and then my doctor came in and she said, "I've done this surgery thousands of times. That has never happened to me. You scared the hell out of me." And then I explained to her what I saw, and she said, "That is exactly what happened." And I don't know about my life now versus then. I have to give it some thought. Now your mom's story is making me question some things, but I too have experienced it and did very much watch it from above.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing, Carla. I don't know
Yeah.
if you have shared before with the audience of your
No.
podcast, but I love how, because I don't share the story of my mother, and somehow we kind of bring in this story in the field. It's allowing the space for you to also share with us this very, very powerful story. I think definitely give it a thought and explore if 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 after this experience you are developing more
Yeah.
into your intuition.
Yeah. I do have very you talking about your mom's dreams. I do have very intense dreams, very detailed dreams. And I have experienced getting weird messages that don't make sense to me that I've been afraid to say out loud because it seems ridiculous.
Mm, mhm.
But I don't nearly have the sophistication that you or others have. So I think I pushed it away a little bit.
Well, something I learned about, especially channeling, or when you're experiencing a lot of sensations in the body, or even sometimes listening. I don't know the proper words in English, pero en español, clarividencia, clariaudiencia.
Clairvoyance. Mhm.
It, it, it's something that they're always ready to open for you, your spirit guide, but it's until you give permission and until you give yourself the permission to allow and receive. So it takes time. It takes time to explore. It takes time to understand. And I would say one of the best exercises is journaling your dreams.
Mhm.
And then the next day, pay attention on how the things in the physical realm are moving. And you can start like putting together little pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
As the person that I am, I'm like, yes, Carla, like, go, please explore. Because I believe each one of us can share these gifts to others. And it's definitely a very profound experience on your daily basis. You just become more sensitive to life and your relationship to all beings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, please, when you're ready, share with me, and I would love to do some exercises with you.
You will be the first, I promise. I promise, Amiga, you'll be the first. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to spend some time educating our audience on the different types of medicine. So I've heard you
Okay.
talk about tobacco, cacao, peyote, ayahuasca. There are two things that I strongly believe. One is which these medicines are to be revered, as is their origin. So I really respect the indigenous nature of these medicines. The other thing that I strongly believe, it could be right or wrong. I'm not attached to that, but I believe that you have to be called to them.
Mm.
Much like you said that phone call. Like for a long time, I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, you should do ayahuasca," and I'd be like, "I don't know." I think you have to be called versus someone telling you to do something. And I had been in ceremony before and was called to psilocybin, and also had a DMT experience that was very intense. But I would love for you to spend some time educating our audience on the different plant medicines, the different things that you might utilize them for.
Where should we start? Okay, first medicine, it's who we are and our breath and the water that we carry through our ancestral blood that is going, and it's allowing to renew every cell when we go to sleep. So let's start connecting with the everyday medicine, which is the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, our emotions, what warms our heart, the food that we consume, the way we dedicate, and the way we relate to the animals that we eat. I want to start there because before we can jump into other experiences with certain medicines, I believe it's very important to start taking care of the way we are related on daily basis to who we are. I'm gonna start with water. She has all the stories. She has all the memories of the amount of times that the water and this planet has like se ha congelado. It's been frozen. So it's very important that every time we drink water, every time we take a shower, every time we are bathing ourselves in a lake, in the river, and the ocean, we start connecting to these memories because they live within. Then breath, air. When we wake up and we are breathing again, we are alive. So these two are very, very related to each other.
Mhm.
And again, the fire in our digestion. Okay. So why am I saying this? Because once we can have a relationship with who we are, then we could understand what these sacred medicines are going to come and enhance to this experience. So maybe sometimes people have shared with you, hey, Carla, you should do ayahuasca, you should do peyote. I do want to say from experience that these sacred medicines reveal also to other people in people like me, for
Mm,
example,
mhm,
because I carry these medicines within my DNA now.
mhm,
So when I'm speaking to somebody or I get to meet someone in person for the first time, they are they are also in me
mhm,
speaking and opening a portal. So there is the chance that sometimes you'll meet people that are the physical representation of the forest, of the desert,
mm,
and all they want to do is to give you ease and the information. It is important to know where you do it and with who, because they have a very specific process. Let's talk about ayahuasca, for example. Ayahuasca has to be cooked 24 hours. It can't be cooked 23 hours, 25 hours, 26. It has to be a whole day, and it's a whole prayer. So imagine once this sacred medicine comes out from the habitat, from the jungle, it's going to start traveling. So it's going to start experiencing a lot of energy, a lot of different changes of temperature, and these will affect who gets to try it and experience this medicine. So, of course, it's not just for anybody to, and also there's the money exchange. It doesn't work that way. These times are very difficult in society, and the native people from the jungle and the desert, they are the messengers, and they are having difficulties in the jungle, in their habitats,
mm,
because, for example, the Amazonian, it's on fire. You know, they're going through a really hard time. So all these lianas, all this medicine from like thousands of years have been discovered from to to the human. So they've been in a way sacrificing themselves, so they come and provide the information to humanity.
mm,
So the whole point of bringing this beautiful medicine from their habitat into the circles around the world is to bring a message.
mm.
It's to bring the message of the awakening. But it's like giving the key to your heart, because if you've been distracted, they're just going to come and enhance the experience of what it means to be in this 3D reality and this realm. That's all it's happening. As a facilitator, our responsibility is to take care of these hearts and to reveal the message and to learn how to pray with these medicines. The the idea is not to give the medicine and allow people to go into a journey or a trip. Like I hear this in a very recreational way. It's very unfortunate,
Mhm.
because that's when a lot of people unfortunately will experience trauma.
Yeah.
But this is not how what we're trying to do as medicine people, as people that we pray over this beautiful medicine. We are bringing the medicines so they deliver the message to the humanity of the awakening, of the human experience, on how we relate with love and respect to everything that is in this beautiful earth and this dimensional realm. So they all have a very sacred molecule, like the onanakat, psilocybin. Psilocybin is, and when you actually metabolize the medicine, then it's called psilocybin. But before there, the molecule is still DMT, same as ayahuasca. And for example, the Wachuma and the Peyote, they carry this molecule called mescalina. So they're ethniogenos. They are going to reveal also a very sacred molecule, a very sacred spirit. And each medicine is going to talk to you in a very specific way. But
Mhm.
we have to keep in mind that it also depends on how we are clearing our filters before we go into ceremony. And this medicine when it comes into the sacred temple, it will project, it will potentialize, because the goal is to enhance experience. But if you are not properly taking care of these filters already in the daily basis, then you're probably going to have an experience that is not close to even meeting the spirit of this beautiful medicine. It takes time, it takes preparation. It's very delicate. It's sacred. It's no difference from, again, the daily basis and how we are taking care of our bodies and the information we see in the news and the phone, the way we speak to our loved ones. the- there's no difference.
For me, these medicines are to be revered. Also, preparation, I think, is so important.
Very important.
One of the things that the shaman, the medicine woman that I worked with, advised me to do was to do a cleanse, but I was
Mhm.
actually on a silent retreat. So I did a cleanse not just from sugar, not just from alcohol, not just from caffeine, but also from the phone, no music, no writing, no reading,
Mm.
only meditation. So I came into it, I felt very, very well prepared. And that definitely informed my experience. In fact, I had a very powerful dream the night before, and it definitely informed the experience. So I think what you're saying around preparation is so critical. And then the other thing that I think was really beneficial to me was the integration, which was the support post. From what I've observed in other people, people don't always give themselves the time to integrate on the other side and to take care of their bodies. But the last thing that I am pulling from what you're saying, which is so beautiful and isn't even just about the medicine, but you're also saying we need to be sacred with ourselves.
Life itself is a ceremony, is a ritual.
Yeah.
And talking about a medicine ceremony, the ceremony only starts when you leave that sacred space. Because the theory is that after you gain the teachings and you are reminded of your teachings and your wisdom and your power and the wonderful, wholesome being that you are, then you're taking all these teachings with you into the daily ceremony. That's why integration is also very, very important. And something I want to mention, this is a way of life.
Say more about that.
A way of life, like talk your prayer, walk your prayer. And that prayer looks different for each one of us. For some people, it's exercising. For others, it's making art, having a beautiful podcast, educating, being a mother, being a father. It's like that's the ceremony. That's the prayer.
Mm.
So it's not only in one space. I cannot take myself, Gina, and only be sacred in the space when I'm in front of the altar with the elements. No, I take myself the same way into my mom's house, into my best friend's place, into nature, into wherever I go.
Mm.
And that took time to understand, because then something something will happen. And this is part of consciousness and spirit. If you are not congruent with your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, they will let you know. But that happens every day also, whether we're conscious or not. It's always happening because we are the manifestators. We are always, something I want to also say is that, again, we are in the human experience. So we are constantly doing this kind of miracles. We're always manifesting. We're floating in this magic. We are magic beings in a magical world with like amazing biology, with amazing extraterrestrial information and DNA. It's just the matter is just to remember, hey, wait a minute, I am this being with all the rest.
Yeah. I see behind you I think it says create your own reality.
Create your own reality.
Yeah. And that's a message that I keep trying to share on this podcast. Many of the people that I bring on live completely in different lifestyles and existences, but are the thing that's the common thread in all of them is that they're in alignment.
Mm,
And they're walking their purpose, they're living their prayer, as you say. And I have been coaching people for quite some time now, and it's so fascinating to observe how each individual can just create their own reality.
mhm,
And also the slightest change can create a completely different reality. And how much our perception of that changes everything. So I find
yeah.
that to be very powerful. You used a term that I think people that are aware of it sometimes chase. People use it, I think, loosely, but you mentioned awakening.
Mm, mhm.
And I'd love to know from you, when you say awakening, what does it mean to you? And did you personally experience an awakening? And what was that?
Mm, beautiful question. Yes, I have been experiencing many awakenings, and it's a never ending experience of the self. I would say more from the mind is just the self.
Mhm.
And I've experienced awakenings from, I remember like growing up as a teenager. One time, my brother, Javier, he's older than me, and he already experienced a lot in life. So he came to me and said, you know, the way you're eating junk food, it's not serving you. And I remember being like 14, 13 years old and being like, oh, my brother is a hippie. Like he had dreadlocks at the time and he was traveling the world. And you know, to me, I was like, oh, he's such a hippie. Like he's saying that because he's a hippie. I didn't even understand the concept of what that meant. But I didn't even have the ability in that moment to process the information until years later when I went through my own awakening of eating better food, hydrating properly, and taking care of my body, that I was like, oh, this is what he meant.
Mm,
You
mhm,
know, anything I nourish myself with, it's how it's going to project. And then, of course, you know, there's always a before and after when you start experiencing with also certain medicines. There's always an awakening. There's always like aha moments. So I think it's an everyday thing. Awakening for me, it's just when you make of your life a conscious moment,
mm,
when you really embody and embrace who you are with the good and not so good. It's not about good or bad or no, 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 no. It's when you get to embrace what you are feeling, what you are thinking, what you are going through, and then you decide either to change, to transform, to connect, to continue. Because the awakening and the conscious moment, it works also with maybe something that is not going to serve you, but you're still choosing to do it. So the difference between that is like you do it from the conscious awakening. But the thing is, like when you say you're conscious about doing something and it's something that it's going to sabotage you or hurt yourself, that's when I would say then it's not very conscious. Then maybe we don't want to use the conscious part of the word, because I do believe, but this is very personal based on my own experience. I do believe when I choose to make conscious awakenings is because I know in my soul and my higher self that it's not going to harm me or others.
yeah.
So then I'll give you an example. I cannot say, I'm going to eat this consciously, knowing that what I'm about to eat, it's gonna create, something really bad in my digestion. So then I would say, don't even maybe use the word, no, like connect first and then eat it and do as you wish, being responsible of the effects, but not necessarily being like, oh, I'm awake and conscious, because conscious works in mysterious ways. And it's the daily little things that you are consciously doing to transform your reality and the way you do things. But to have a different experience. But it's very personal how you want to transform that experience that will bring the awakening and the conscious into the experience. So it's very personal.
Yeah. Oh,
And again, it's not good and bad.
yeah.
It's just is. But you choose what's your awakening, you know?
Yeah. No, you're speaking to me right now because I have some habits right now that I can observe that they're not great and I don't want them. I'm aware of them. I can see them almost like the outside from the outside looking in, but yet I'm not changing them. So
Hmm.
it's like super fascinating. So you're speaking to me in this in terms of like slowing down enough to check in to see, okay, wait, do I really want to do this
Right. Right.
or do I not?
And
If I do,
and
that's
we yeah, exactly. And we all have them,
yeah.
and they can be very small.
Yeah.
And again, I think a more conscious action will be to think like, I'm not ready to change this habit.
Yeah. Yeah, to accept
But
it.
from accepting and embracing and knowing that that will create an effect, whether it's positive or negative. But I think where the conscious act comes in, it's when you accept, oh, this is what this is a choice. I'm not a victim of my own situations. I'm not blaming others. I'm not blaming this habit. I'm not, I'm taking care of myself and I'm choosing to be in a relationship with this person, for example. I'm
Yeah.
not ready to let go of my job, even that I'm not happy in my job. I think that's where the real concept comes in, for me at least.
Yeah, there's agency in that. There's strength in that. Okay. So I want to come back to something that you said earlier that I'm just curious about, which you mentioned, was it at 17 that there was an overdose experience with
Yeah.
DMT? Do you mind talking to me about that, telling me what happened and what the outcome was?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a very now at this age, I am actually thankful and grateful for the whole experience because there was many years of my life where I had to work even with in therapy and about this experience. But really what happened was like one of my friends, she wanted to get some mushrooms. So we contact a guy that had the mushrooms. And when we get to that space, we were forced to smoke um, in a bong. And I at this point I had no experience in certain practices. And at that point I remember, I mean, I was very young. The only thing that I tried before it was like a little bit of like ganja or I did try mushrooms before, but it was like in a microdose. So I never had an experience of like full in smoking anything. And so we were forced because we entered the space and these guys were there smoking. It was two strangers with the guy that we didn't knew. And I remember when they passed me the bong, I said like, no, 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 thank you. You know, I was very nervous. It was already a sketchy situation. I was like, I was not honest with my mom and sister at the time, you know, just like full teenager, um, disobedience. And I smoked. And funny enough, I was the only one that had that impact. Now I understand why. But I had one smoke, and I remember like immediately, I would say like within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I started like coming out of my body, and I had to sit down and lay on the couch. Of course, my two friends got really scared, and I started experiencing like many ginas out of my body doing different activities. So I started like at this point, I'm like getting scared. And when you get scared with this kind of, again, like potentializers or DMT, then it's really not gonna like turn out good because fear, adrenaline, plus DMT, then it's a whole mess. But at the time, I didn't understand what was happening.
Gina, was it bufo or what was it?
No, no, no. The DMT experience is because how my pineal gland expressed, but it
Okay.
was there was opium.
Oh, okay.
and hashish in it.
Ah, okay. Got it.
Yes. So the DMT experience is because now I understand how it expressed in my pineal gland, but the molecule that I smoked, it was not the DMT.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm. So my friends, they were like experts, maybe they had more experience. So they were like, well, don't get scared, enjoy, blah, blah, blah. But at this moment, I'm just having a full astral experience to the point that they took me in their car to go around the park. And I was out of the car, jumping in the lights. Like I had at least three different Ginas doing different things. So it was the first time I was experiencing like a full DMT moment. And I was getting scared. So that had an effect on my breathing and my heartbeat. And that's when I saw this beautiful skull coming into me and saying, like, okay, it's time, you're going to die. So I stopped breathing. And my friend that was next to me started like saying, like, Gina, breathe, breathe. And I will just come back, a couple of seconds later and then I will go again. So I started having this ego death and also not necessarily physical death, but like many layers of dying experience for the first time. And it was very impactful and very traumatic at the time because I had no idea of what was going on. So when I use the term overdose is because now I understand that some people are more sensitive and even allergic, I would say, to certain substances. In my case, I'm always very allergic to THC. Or like I just have a very allergic reaction. Uh, and the overdose is again because when you're metabolizing a medicine, and if it's not reacting right, and again your hormones are from 0 to 100, then you're having a very strong chemical reaction inside. So, anyways, the what happened afterwards is it lasted at least for 9-10 hours.
Whoa.
I go back home. Of course, my sister and my mother at the time, they were like so scared. I, of course, told them what happened. I was traumatized. And my mom, I remember she hid some food and she said, okay, well, I'm sorry you went through that. She fed me and I
Mhm.
go to sleep. And as soon as I go into the bed, I start going into another experience again, but this time I'm by myself and it was very traumatic. And I had to leave the school. I It was a full 360 experience for me, which I'm very thankful and grateful for because that actually sent me into my medicine path.
Huh.
But it took me a whole year to integrate because my heartbeat was always skipping after that. I
Wow.
couldn't sleep at night. I could only sleep when there was light in the house. I couldn't sleep by myself. I had to go sleep and snuggle with my mom. Um, it was very traumatic experience. So I understood how fragmented my mind was at the moment. And again, if you don't have experience and this is just something that just comes into your body, it's very delicate. And that's exactly why now, after, these many years of working with the medicine, I really take care of this preparation and integration because it's something so delicate and something so sacred. And I really don't recommend people just like trying because like and it could be even just like a one afternoon with your friends smoking, I don't know, something.
Mhm.
It's like I think it's good to be aware how our anemic body is doing and be aware of the space and the environment because everything's going to have a very impactful experience.
Yeah, set and setting, an individual. I think what's important about what you're saying is we're all individuals. We're going to respond in the same way we respond to pharmaceutical medicines differently. we're going to respond to the plants differently. Um, yeah, I too can't tolerate certain things, and in the same way that other people do. I'm sorry that happened to you, but it sounds like it's been so critical to you being able to do the work that you do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So that's what I want to go to next. So I want to talk about what sort of work you do now, Gina, what you help people with. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do and what makes somebody come to you to want to work with you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So what I've been doing for a couple years now, it's I've been sharing the medicine of the four elements in a ceremonial way. I also give out workshops around the rituals and the protocols around certain medicines of the Native American nations. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of people that are even getting certified online or something, and they're like putting together spaces for people to go heal or and again there's no right or wrong, but it's very delicate information. So what I'm currently doing is more it's coming from a wanting to educate and share more of the teachings that hold tradition. I currently serve in the altar the medicine of Ish Cacao, Mother Cacao, with the teachings of the Tzotzil Mayan calendar, and that requires the presence of the nahuales, which is the ceremony that you experience in person. And the channeling is completely different. Again, it's something that happens organically in ceremony. It's not part of like what I do in ceremony. I share the medicine of Hape and yeah, the prayer over the elements. I study naturopathy, so I do one-on-one sessions about nutrition and how to balance also your hormones, how to balance your adrenal glands, your thyroid gland, how to work with your pineal gland. I would say like right now I'm very focused in working with the pineal gland, and I teach people about Akashic records and channeling. So, but something I started doing was focusing in the internal map that each individual has. Because in holistic therapy or coaching, it can be very easily to generalize the symptoms. But I've learned throughout the years of practice that each person has an ecosystem. So when we're having a session, then I like your ecosystem to start speaking so we can go from there. And basically, what I do is I hold the GPS and you're driving your own ecosystem. You're driving your car, and I hold a GPS. I'm sitting next to you, and I'll tell you where to make the turns, and
Wow.
then you will decide to either stop there and take care of that or so it's a very personal work and you work on your own pace and but we integrate a lot of the elements again like good hydration, digestion, what's going on in your present life. I also work a lot with the creative center. I have a workshop called Invisible Ties that is all around sexual creative energy where we trace some ancestral lines so we can also take care of these lines that are trying to sometimes get energy from the main router, which is our wombs as women. So, yeah, right now I do a little bit of everything based on the ecosystem of the person and the patient that comes to see me.
Yeah. That was also work that we did with you in Mexico that was very powerful in terms of the womb healing ceremony. That was very, very powerful.
Beautiful.
Okay. So, and then if somebody wants to work with you, Gina, how do they find you?
Well, okay, this is the interesting part, Carla, because I'm still coming out of my shell, so I'm not very public.
Okay.
But I guess you can find me on social media on my Instagram, and you can just send me a direct message, and I promise I will respond through my email. So you can find me as Yolo, which is YOLO dot corazon, CORAZON, YOLO dot corazon. That's my Instagram. And you can just contact me and say, hey, I listened to this podcast, and I'll be happy to assist you and support you however I can.
And then before we wrap up, what is your hope or wish for the world, Gina?
Okay. That's so powerful. Okay, curse less and bless more. That's my wish.
Oh, I need to work on the curse less.
Like
Curse less and bless more.
pay attention on the little details.
Mm.
Something I like to do in ceremonies. If you remember, we always make the offerings with seeds and flowers.
Mhm.
And if you grab a little seed of beans or lentils, and if you're walking on the street, we don't pay attention. We're like, oh, it's a seed, But then when you really think about that seed, if you plant it in the right place, it can feed a lot of people. So I would say my wish is for us to bless more, but also pay attention on the small details, on the little details that are happening all the time. And I believe when we realize on the magic and the manifestation that we are with the little details, then we can really start manifesting a bigger reality. So
Yeah.
for this consciousness, for the world that we want to live in. So
Yeah. Look for the little seeds. You gave us lots, you gave us many seeds today. Many seeds.
gracias, amiga. Muchas
Yeah.
gracias.
Many beautiful seeds.
Muchas
Okay.
gracias.
I'm so grateful. Um, I want
Gracias.
to make sure that I continue to support you.
Mm,
I think you do really, really beautiful work. You are one of the um, most powerful healers I've encountered,
mm,
and your channeling abilities are spectacular.
mm.
So I look forward to continuing to support you in any way that I can, and
Gracias,
I-
amiga.
I'm at the end. I'm so grateful that you would spend so much precious time with me and our audience today.
Thank you so much. And it's such an honor. I feel very blessed, very grateful for you, for your life, for all your relatives. Again, once again, to whoever connects, whoever relates. I hope, uh, yeah, just hope it brings lots of beautiful seeds in your heart. And I love you. And I talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
I love you too, Gina.
Matios.
Adiós. Gracias, amiga.
Gracias.
Thank y'all for listening today. If you're so inclined, please follow, subscribe, download, share, all of the things so that we can keep going. We appreciate your support so much. If you're interested in learning more, go to thecoeffect.co.